I'm John Kaiser in Vancouver at the Metals Investor Forum. I am speaking with Darren Smith, VP of Exploration of 92 Resources Corp. Darren, welcome to Vancouver.
Thank you.
You've just been appointed a VP of Exploration for 92 Resources Corp with the focus shifting to the FCI Corvette project, which originally was a lithium project, but also has some gold potential, and the FCI West portion was recently optioned, so you have now expanded gold potential. But there's been a lot of interest in your company as a result of Midland Exploration's MITHRL copper discovery next door. The initial results disappointed the market, but it's early days. The market's looking for like very long intersections of high-grade copper. Why is this, what Midland's doing there, why is this interesting and new?
It's a very good question. It's new in the sense that it's a new type of style of mineralization that wasn't previously recognized in the region. It seems to be porphyry style, but very high grade. They have dozens of samples over 4% copper, up to 13.5, up to 16% copper, as well as gold and a good moly and silver associated with as well. And this is right on surface. It was discovered from a historic moly showing and was not previously recognized in this region. These region is Archean greenstone belt, so it's very old rocks. And most porphyries are less than 60 million years old, so often it's difficult for these to be preserved over time. Metamorphism and deformation can change the alteration assemblages, making it more difficult to recognize in the field. And so this type of mineralization was not previously recognized to have potential in the area. However, what MITHRL has demonstrated is that there is strong potential. There is porphyry there. It's been recognized by them. It seems to be very late stage, and it seems to be a very high grade and a very large system. And this is very good for us. We have good gold and base metal potential in our own right, but this adds a very strong undertone of potential to us now as well, that this porphyry style mineralization has a good chance that there could be mineralization within our land tenure as well.
So porphyry, when I hear that term, I think of intrusive systems in the Andes and in the North American Cordillera, and sort of disseminated copper systems, 0.2 to 1%. When it starts getting higher, it's due to secondary enrichments such as escondida. If it is an ordinary porphyry system in these old $2.5 billion Archean rocks, would they have ever had a chance to get that sort of enrichment where you're going to get 1 to 2% grades over substantial widths rather than just sort of fracture filling spikes of this stuff? They say this is a granodiorite host, which seems to be new information. They thought it was a paragneiss of some sort. From what you know about these porphyries in these old Archean systems, what is the possibility that something rich could be sitting here in this James Bay region?
Well, I think the possibility is quite strong, simply demonstrated by the extent of the high-grade sampling they have on surface. Porphyries like this are definitely much more common around subduction zones that we see around in the BC area and so on, but there are some examples in the Archean. It's much less common. However, this is a 2 billion year old rock, so there's a lot of time for subsequent hydrothermal alteration in various systems to enrich this material. So it's very difficult to pinpoint why, but all indications are it's very large is what we want to see. It's somewhat unusual because of this grade, obviously, and in geology there's a lot of things that we don't know. You put 5 geologists in a room and they'll all come up with a different interpretation. And so, but everything that we've seen to date with the samples they've collected, with the geophysics data that they have, with the personal communications I've had, everything is still very encouraging, and we see a lot of potential for or they see a lot of potential for a large system that has potential for all the players in the region. Azimut, SOQUEM, and for sure 92 Resources, where we're situated, is quite favorable for it.
Now, in 2011, the Geological Survey did a regional lake bottom sediment study on sort of 12 square kilometer grid, and that showed a copper anomaly farther west, not particularly much in this area, but when Azimuth and SOQUEM did their own study on a 1 square kilometer grid in 2016 and recently published it, a very substantial copper anomaly showed up west of the MITHRL ground, obviously on their own Piqua ground itself. If this level of sampling detail were done in the broader James Bay area, is it possible that we could see much more of this type of copper anomalies over a larger area show up that makes the region really interesting, and rather than just be, okay, here's some localized freak show and guys who are there got it, what's the possibility that throwing a lot more exploration detail at this region will light up a lot of stuff previously not recognized?
I think the potential is very good. Midland immediately staked a lot more of the copper anomalies around in the area that one defined by azimuths at a very tight scale, and lake sediment is a very good first pass to identify anomalies like this, and it's a coincident bismuth anomaly, and it's very large for the region. So for sure, I think that this discovery opens up potential for these rock units and so on in the Archean and the James Bay, and people are going to be looking out for this type of mineralization and clicking on these showings and looking what's been done historically. And the first place to start is with these lake bottom sediment surveys. There's a very good database to CEGEM in Quebec, and this is definitely where it starts. And SOQUEM and Azimuth have done some good work to follow up on that as well with their more detailed survey.
Some people like to compare the greenstone belts of the James Bay area with those of the Abitibi, but what makes the Abitibi special with their 80 to 100 million ounce high-grade gold payload are those deep-seated structures like Cadillac Larder and Destor Porcupine. Such structures seem to be missing from the James Bay region. Is that going to be a limitation in terms of the sort of gold endowment that's possible for this region?
Well, in terms of typical orogenic gold, you want to see these deep-seated structures. It's definitely what you want to see. There's a lot of evidence of various mineralizing structures for load-hosted gold up in the James Bay, but I think it's important to point out that the Abitibi is very detailed mapped. It's very detailed explored. The James Bay is essentially what the Abitibi was 100 years ago. So there's a lot of mapping and exploration to be figured out and for these systems to be identified. So I think there's a lot of potential there for deep-seated fault systems that could be quite mineralized as well.
Now, I may be blindsiding you with this question, but when I got in the industry in 1983, it was on the heels of the Hemel discovery, a 20 million ounce high-grade gold deposit in some sort of porphyry system with moly, and nothing else was ever found like it, and it was sort of quite far away from the Abitibi Greenstone Belt area in a place where it wasn't supposed to be. If you have any familiarity with Hemel, what is the possibility that as a lot more money gets thrown at the James Bay, a freak show like Hemel comes into view? Is this region have the potential for this type of surprise?
I think in general, yes. I mean, that's part of the excitement of geology is we're always throwing curveballs. But I think that potential is there, and we really didn't expect to find, or wasn't really expected to find this type of porphyry mineralization. So basically, all balls are off, and the potential is pretty much what you can develop based on the geology and the chemistry that you see. So I think there is potential for potentially a major one-off, or I think porphyries tend to occur on structures. They tend to be more than one around. So I think there's a lot of potential here, and we've only essentially scratched the surface, and it's very hard to infer where this is going to go. But right now, I feel it's a very big system. It's very formidable system, and there's a lot of potential there to flush out, and it's going to take a long time to really flush it out. There'll be a lot of focus in this area and throughout the rest of the James Bay looking for these types of systems and what else could be there.
Thanks, Darren. I've been in Vancouver talking with Darren Smith, VP of Exploration of 92 Resources Corp. Thank you, Darren.
Thank you very much.